Content warning. The story, characters, and events in this book are entirely fictional. Any similarities to actual people, places, and events are purely coincidental. This story contains heavy violence, strong language, and sexual themes that may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Chapter 3. Dancer in the Shadows. "You!" coughs a grotesque figure shrouded in the city's shadows. "You promised. Why? Why has this happened?" sputters a mass of remains resting in a puddle of inky sludge. Its liquid-filled throat chokes and wheezes as it breathes. "I warned you," says a proud male voice, his slow, deliberate footsteps echoing through the alleyway. "Did I not warn you? You should have waited, but you had to make yourself flesh when we were not ready." "Bastard!" thunders the heap of fluids. The man stops in front of the pond, lowering the tip of his cane onto the pavement with a click. A snicker creeps from the man's pursed lips. "You poor, eager soul." Out of the puddle rises necrotic skeletal appendages, melting flesh hanging off their inky bodies. Several arms extend from its spine, reaching for the man's leg. "Don't mock me," the abomination hisses. The man strikes the creature with his rod, smashing its body back into an unformed pool. "Hush. All is not lost," he says, stepping back from the insidious mess. "You need to feed on the meat of others to build the fiber needed for a body." "Don't wander away," the puddle commands. "I am not through with you." The man stands on his heel, the scuff of his shoe echoing against the brick walls. "I suppose you are not," he chuckles, then continues on his way. "Find me later, or maybe I will find you when you are born into this world," he says, as he leaves the creature. Two arms creep from the pond. Its bony fingers dig deep into the solid road, clawing their way further into the darkness of the alley. "Later, you say?" The low bustle of shoppers, wild ringing registers, and computer-generated beeps create the ambiance of Ichigari grocery. People peruse stocked aisles full of various foods. Apricot kneels, placing milk cartons from a crate onto a refrigerated shelf. "I am in so much trouble," she thinks. "If I was on thin ice before, when Miss Akagi reports my actions to the bureau, they will kick me out for sure." She looks at another carton of milk, watching condensation drip off the white cardboard. The carton feels heavier this time. "And I will stock shelves for the rest of my life. I won't amount to anything," she moans. "And that rotten Jasper will be a famous engineer or something. He will rub it in my face forever. Oh shit, when Mom and Dad find out. I need to focus on the good things. I got one of the best scoops. I was a first-hand witness to a robbery and I survived. I could be dead right now." Thoughtlessly, Apricot continues stocking the shelf. "I mean, I would be dead if not for those officers. I almost died today." With a clenched jaw, Apricot pinches her lips together. "You would think being a hostage would be a good enough excuse for getting off work," she mumbles to herself. As a firm hand rests on her back, Apricot nearly jumps out of her skin. She looks up to see the pitted face of a middle-aged man. He bends over her, grabbing a gallon of milk off the shelf and pressing his leg against her face. "Thanks for shopping at Ichigari Grocery," Apricot says in a kind tone. The man looks at her with a big, goofy grin. Apricot expects him to move on, but the man just stands there gawking at her. What the heck does this guy want? Apricot thinks, but continues ignoring the odd behavior. She reaches for another gallon of milk to replace the one he took. With the tap of his foot, the man mumbles, "And?" A grumble escapes her mouth as she screams internally. "And have a nice day," she says, flashing wide blue eyes and a massive grin. The man nods, places his milk inside a cart, and walks down the aisle. Apricot shakes her head. "This is what I have to look forward to for the rest of my life. I want to die. Ugh!" From behind, she hears the distinct clop of her boss's shoes. It is a rhythmic sound that you can follow through the store. She is not sure if he does it to annoy others or is just oblivious. At least it gives her a warning he is approaching. She rolls her eyes, knowing from past events he wants to give her new chores. If he appears happy, he wants something. She figures the illusion of joy is because he is always stretched tight as a wire. He could snap at any moment. She turns her head to look up at an older man dressed in a white button-up with black pants. "Apricot," he says, stopping in front of her. "Oh, hey, Mr. Kayabetsu, how are things going?" She raises her pitch to sound cheerful. He taps his feet a couple of times. "Oh, gotta go, gotta go, gotta go, go, go." His balding head is plastered with an artificial smile. He pokes at his clipboard with a pen a few times. "Oh, girl, how's your project?" She looks over at the milk crates for a moment and lets out an internal sigh, knowing he will ask more of her. "Well, I got this left, then cleanup. I have an important article to finish for tomorrow." She hopes Mr. Kayabetsu might consider her schoolwork. "Good, good, good. Okay, so you're about done. Hey, one more thing. Could you mop the sidewalks?" He walks away before she can answer. "Good, okay, that's great." Apricot looks at the 2 boxes of milk and sighs. "Can't I get out on time just once? I wasn't even supposed to work today," she cries. The shine of fluorescent lights fills the hollow streets. Various colors, orange around the edges of the gray sidewalk, and a rainbow of greens, purples, blues, and reds appear. Apricot's black slacks and white button-up shirt are stained with grease and soda. "You should mop that parking lot before you leave. It shouldn't take too long," she mutters. A dented soda can clinks by. The way it rolls reminds her of a troubled laugh. An odd thought, she admits. Her gaze sweeps across the vast cityscape to an immense staircase at the end of the path. While observing the scene, she takes a moment to take in her surroundings. She muses. What a beautiful place it is at night. Bright lights twinkle from the high-rise buildings. Advertisements cover every open space. Although on its own, it is annoying. When seen as a mosaic, it becomes art, she thinks. Mid-tread, Apricot feels something slam against her leg. Her arms flail as she tumbles down the stairs, wailing. As her foot hits a step with a loud crack, Apricot cries out in shock. As the ground rapidly approaches, she feels pain surge up her left leg. Not wanting to see her final demise, she slams her eyes shut. Seeing the inevitable unfold, all she can do is scream. However, she doesn't feel the jolt as she squeals again. A few moments later, she opens her eyes to see the pavement in front of her. Apricot tries to squirm, but is unable to move. "What?" she says in a hushed voice. "What is happening?" Apricot glances at the red pointed boots in front of her. "Who?" she wonders. "It is time for you to make a choice, girl. Do you wish to die or choose life?" says an honorable voice in a masculine tone. "Who are you?" Apricot gasps in surprise. "What do you mean?" Impatiently he taps his foot twice. "You find yourself moments before your curtain call. I have stood between you and death to give you a choice. Do you choose life or death?" "You're speaking weird. What are you trying to tell me?" she yells. When she tries to move, she becomes paralyzed. "Haply 'tis you who speak the stranger's tongue. Nonetheless, you are running out of time to make the choice. Do you wish to live or die? I offer life as a gift. Choose wisely, like a serpent." His words are unclear to Apricot, but there is no other option. "I choose life," she yelps. Apricot hits the ground violently, knocking out all the air in her lungs. Taking a deep breath, Apricot coughs and wheezes. Upon opening her eyes, she realizes she has fallen several feet. After a struggle with her chest, she manages to get up. She stares up the staircase and watches a shadow staring back at her. "I must have hit my head," she says. "What the hell is that?" "Myneth, dear, that is a phantom. Your trial is not over. Fear not. You have the tools to defeat such a fearsome opponent, the alien-looking man says. She gazes up at a long-nosed mask that reminds her of a beak. This man's outfit is like a jester's. His head is crowned with 2 red and lilac horns, and his fingers end in metallic claws. Apricot estimates his height to be around 6.5 feet, and he maintains a prominent stance that appears weightless. I would suggest you do something quickly before that creature notices you are still alive. I have left power within you to defeat the phantom. How it manifests is up to you. He gestures with his blade towards the shadowy figure. Apricot's wide-eyed shriek fills the air. The scene shatters when 2 white eyes appear out of the sliding shadow. Splashing over the steps, the blob spills onto the ground, making its way over. As she watches, the gentlemanly stranger beside her does not flinch. He folds his arms and continues to watch. It appears as if a stalker has risen from the stairs, exposing several arms dripping with blood. Apricot counts 8 arms coming from the back of the creature before she turns on her heels to run. Taking a look over her shoulder, Apricot shrieks as a blade is thrust at her face from one of the arms. The arm is too segmented to be human. She quickly dodges the attack, raising both palms to her face and turning her back toward the wall. Feast of flesh, it howls, bearing many knives as it emerges from its pond of blackness. A pair of shattering silver eyes stare into the darkness with blinding intensity. As the creature lurches at her, her face is drenched with iridescent liquid. Apricot inhales deeply, the fetid air filling her lungs. There is a warm light growing stronger in Apricot's arm, pushing her forward. Apricot leaps, avoiding another knife. The scene is overwhelming. With one arm covering her face and the other outstretched, she shrieks, "Stop!" A purple beam of light erupts from her palm, igniting the creature instantly. A wet screech of pain escapes it. Watching the purple flame blaze from her palm, dancing in the wind, Apricot's eyes widen. Her body shakes as she shivers. "What is happening?" "You bitch!" the creature roars as it leaps into the air with many more arms. Throwing out her arm, Apricot's flame ravages the creature's torso. Upon impact, it sputters to pieces, raining ash on the ground. At Apricot's feet, the parts fizz and roll until only tiny bits of light float into the air. Her burning arm extends out in awe as she witnesses the unbelievable spectacle. When the last few wisps vanish, the fire in her hand goes out. She grasps her palm and smiles. This can't be happening. "Splendid. The ritual is finished," the figure whispers. Her eyes are wide as she tries to comprehend what she has just witnessed. I had to have hit my head. She turns around and quickly walks away from the masked man. None of this can be real. She notices the man floating out of her peripheral vision. "You're not real!" Apricot yells as she scuttles forward. "It is true you hit your head, but you are not seeing things. You have defeated the first of many phantoms. Your method of manifesting your power was rather unorthodox, but it accomplished your task nonetheless," he replies without any emotion. Echoing across the empty road, her steps come to an abrupt halt. The stranger catches her eye and she turns to look at him. Apricot's medium-length fiery brown hair turns purple due to a blue LCD screen displaying beer advertisements. Several papers are carried by the breeze. "I'm tired and want to go home," she says. "You really think I'll believe you?" she says while gazing at her hand. "I just shot a laser fire thing at a monster. Oh my lord, I am crazy." As the realization hits, her mouth drops open. "I hit my head and now I am insane. I am talking to a clown in the street at night." Her path is blocked by the masked man who has appeared in front of her and landed on the ground. His hands rest on her shoulders and he gazes into her blue eyes. Apricot couldn't see his eyes through the disguise's shadowed holes. Though her eyes catch a slight reflection, she thinks it might be glasses. "You ramble like a crow. You have work to do. The power I gave you is not for free. No, I have a task for you." "A task? What task?" Apricot asks. "You shall eliminate the phantoms from the city." Apricot tries to pass him. He throws her back to the ground with a powerful thrust. "Do you still believe me to be a vision?" he snaps. Her body trembles uncontrollably as she inhales in pain. Apricot wipes the street dust off her and looks up at him, tears welling in her eyes. "I don't know what you want from me. Leave me alone." "I gave you that power to hurly-burly the phantoms in your city. It is my task to remove them from your world before I can return to mine." The jester is at Apricot's side in an instant, extending his clawed hand. As her fingers touch the metal, they encircle her hand and gently help her to her feet. Something she did not expect. "What is hurly-burly?" "To kill the phantoms," he says in a cold voice. "What if I don't?" Apricot asks. He snaps her up close to his face, poking her cheek with a painted wooden nose. "Then I shall take your soul as payment for giving you those powers." Apricot squints her eyes at him with a scrunched-up face. "You can't do that." With the flash of his eyes, Apricot goes limp and sees the world crashing. Her eyes widen as she stares up at the strange figure. The air has an arctic chill that robs the world of its color. When she looks down, she sees her body drizzling foam out of her mouth, gasping. Her eyes turn white as she convulses. When the being's hand opens, she feels herself return to her body. Once more she sees herself as she had before. Rolling to her side, she spits up a heavy stream of bile. "You will complete the task I have given you. You made your choice. You chose life. Now it is time to pay the toll of salvation, Apricot," he declares firmly. "How do you know my name? I never gave it to you," she screams. Her eyes are fixed on him. "A reaper knows all names. Go rest, for in time you shall be called upon to do your duty." Apricot looks around and sees that she is the only one standing there. There is no way any of that could have happened. The streetlights obscure the hazy horizon, the stars hidden. "I need to get home.